What's up, Server Nation? This is Mighty Mike, the podcast server, and you are listening to ProcessServerDaily.com. Guys, I'm super excited about today's episode, and if you have a story that you want to tell that you're excited about, maybe a dog chased you, maybe a guy tried to shoot you with his gun, maybe you had a heartwarming story where you helped somebody in need. Guys, I want to hear that story on this show. Go to ProcessServerDaily.com/be-a-guest. Find some studio time. Go to ProcessServerDaily.com/be-a-guest. I look forward to speaking to you and hearing your story. Let's get to the show. Server Nation, welcome back to the show. Our guest today is none other than the man, the myth, the legend, and the Sasquatch of the Northwest. The owner of Central Washington Legal Services, he has 10 years of experience serving papers and can bowl his butt off with a regular score of 300. Chris Svelnys, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate it.
So, Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in this industry.
Well, it's all started back in 2000, I want to say around 2007. I was working at Wal-Mart, and I kind of befriended the department manager really quick. That's how I roll. You make good friends with the bosses, you know. And, and he's just a couple years older than me, and he's a nice guy. And he asked me one day after working for him for about 6 months to a year. He's like, hey, you want to make some extra money on the side? And I kind of knew what he did, on the side, and I said, oh, doing what? He's like, serving papers. And I'm like, oh, man, okay. I've seen the movie Pineapple Express. Is it kind of like that? And he's like, no. Sometimes. But he's just like, no. He's like, tell you what, he's like, his mom kind of half ran the office, and it used to be her business. Like 30 years ago, her and this guy Junior was helping out this older lady that was doing it. She only had like 10 customers, barely making a few $100 a month. Well, they took it over and she passed away. So they took it over and they ran it 10 times fold and grew the business exponentially. And so her son, Derek, my boss, he was helping out. And so he's like, well, just swing by the office and the guy will take you out for a day and, test you and make sure your mind's all cleared and you're not a crazy person, which I know you're not. That's why he's telling me about it. Kind of like who you know, not what you know. And I said, okay. So took me out for a day and went up north to Oroville to the border of USA and Canada. And we maybe hit 3 or 4 houses, all of which he went out of the car and I didn't get to see any of the dialogue. So I'm getting super nervous and wondering how I'm actually going to serve papers if I don't know what the dialogue is like. And he comes back and we just, he asked me about my whole life story, the 12 hours that we drove, and he come back that night and the next day, I guess he told the owner, said, hey, yeah, he's a good guy. Hire him, and the rest is history. So the first few days I went, I started out as an independent contractor for a few months. I was only doing it part-time, so it really wasn't worth my time, especially being new to the areas and not knowing where everything was at and new to the business. And so I ended up going on the books with the company for 8-9 years until last year we took over the business again. My buddy and his mom, because she shared the business with another owner in Alaska in the west side, and he broke off and he's doing his own thing. So they took it over last summer. So now I became an independent contractor again, and it's more fortunate for me now since I know everywhere, all the counties and all the clients and the clientele and the process and everything. So that's pretty much how I started it.
Well, that's awesome, Chris. You got a family?
I do. Yeah. I have I have a dad out here. I have a mom. I'm from Connecticut, born and raised. I moved out here in 2005. After 9/11, my dad moved out here, and I have a bunch of step family out here. One of my middle brothers is out here. My oldest brother's back east with my mom. So I got family up and down the East Coast and New York and New England area. And then I have a bunch of step family out here in Washington State, Idaho, and parts of Oregon. So
That's
super
awesome.
blessed and just, awesome people out here in the West Coast.
That's awesome, Chris. I got to tell you that one of the main reasons I wanted you to come on the show is when I heard your story, and we may get to that. If you want to share that same story, that's fine. But you got a lot going on with these kind of stories. You gotta be able to share them, man. You can't keep them to yourself.
I know. And really quick on that one story, if I do get into it, my boss was actually at a NAPS meeting, an APPS meeting, a couple states away. And after it happened, I was so distraught, and I called her up, and she just started, busting out laughing. And she's like, "Hold on, repeat what you just said to me. You're on speakerphone with about 10 other NAPS members. Go ahead, Chris, what happened?" That's what I told them, and they're all just like around a bonfire or something, just dying laughing. They're like, how does this happen? And then from that point on, just the most bizarre, craziest stuff happens to me, and it's just it's laughable.
Well, we always like to get started. We don't want to focus on the negative things in life. Well, there's a reason why you're on the show. You got a lot going on. You got a lot of great stories. But first, we're going to start with your worst experience in the field. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, my worst experience by far would have to be I was going to a house. And I've been there a couple times before. It's a repeater house. Every time I go there, something bad happens. The first time, I got bit by a dog, flesh wound, cut the skin. The second time I went there, I locked my keys in my car. And the guy I served was the boyfriend of the lady I was serving. And he was nice enough to accept the papers and help me get back in my car and break into my car. And then the third time, which was the worst serve ever, I was going out. It just rained out, and it was like a single wide trailer, and I walked around the corner, and I ended up slipping on the mud and pretty much thought I broke my leg. I did a full half split right to the ground, screaming bloody murder. I thought I broke my leg. I'm rolling around in the mud, in the grass, yelling for help from anybody. No one's around, so I ended up crawling back to my Chevy Tracker that I had, and hoisted myself up, called my boss, got to my phone, called my boss, screaming at her, telling her I broke my leg, I need to go to the hospital, and she's like, "Oh my God." She's like, okay, you just call 911, have the ambulance come there. I'm like, "No, I'm already in the car." All of a sudden the people come up and they pull up, the owners of the property, and they're, I'm screaming at them, not, at them directly, but just in pain. I was in so much pain. And they said, "Did you want us to bring you to the hospital?" I was like, "No, I'm already in here." And they're like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." And you can see like the streak of where my leg came out under me and on their road, on their property there. And I just said, "Yeah, I got to go now. All I could think about was going to the hospital." And I was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, so-and-so here?" And they're like, "Yeah, so here you go. You can serve." so I got the paper served. That was all that matters, and I drove to the hospital, which was just, 5 minutes away from there. And I couldn't even get out of the car. I saw a couple of EMTs washing the EMT van, the hospital truck, and I yelled at them, and they came and got a wheelchair for me. And I ended up pulling like the worst hammy of all times from my lower back down to behind my leg and my knee, just completely black and blue. And I couldn't walk for about 3 weeks. Had to go on unemployment for a few weeks and physical therapy. But yeah, so I have yet to be back to that property, so I'm prepared to wear all body armor and just everything bad to go back there again. But that was by far the worst painful experience serve I've ever had to deal with.
Now, would you say that you fell because of the rain, the mud, or?
Oh yeah, it was the rain and the mud, and there was really nothing they could do about it. And people say, "Oh, you go after the property owners." I'm like, "No, it was pure accident myself. There's nothing they could do about it. I mean, the way their land is at, it's mud and grass everywhere." And,
well, that's a pretty terrible experience. What do you want Server Nation to get from your story?
With that experience, just to really watch where you're going, and tread lightly on all different kinds of terrain and property. That's not the only time I fell in the 10 years I've been doing this. I fell a lot, but that was definitely the worst. It can happen in our line of work. And just to really be careful. Safety is your number one concern, as always, and just to be careful and just watch where you're walking, watch where you're stepping.
No, that's great. I got to tell you, people so often think, "Oh, have you ever had a gun in your face?" No, but I stepped wrong and went down a flight of stairs, and not just any concrete stairs with the little rocks on them.
Right. And funny, I've actually had a few guns pulled on me over 10 years, all of which were really respectful. Once they found out they knew who I was, they, disengaged their weapon and put it in their holster or away from me. And they were super nice. I was way out in the country. I wouldn't expect anything less, from the owners out there. Mm-hmm. And, but nothing still as far as scary as that. I literally thought I broke my leg, like, bad.
Yeah, that's a terrible experience. And yeah, Server Nation, watch where you're going. And be prepared. I got to tell you, wearing the right shoes, people, we don't want to get, you can get as deep as you need to get. I wear boots sometimes I wear dress shoes if I know I'm serving businesses. If I go up to the mountains, I don't just carry a 38, I carry a little extra. So it just depends on every situation is different. So being prepared for all those situations. It's hard to prepare for something like mud. If you slip in the mud, I guess just having your cell phone on you always, right? Because you could have called from the mud if you had to.
Right, yeah. Calling around and getting back into the vehicle. Yeah, that's true.
So, Chris, that's a good story to start with. Tell us about your greatest experience working in the field.
I serve papers as professionally as I can. I try and treat others the way I want to be treated and with respect. And this one is a little different than most, I would say. My grandmother passed away my last known grandparent passed away last September. And I got the news, started my day. She lives back east in Connecticut with my other family over there. And I was driving. I was heading to my first job, just a couple minutes away. My stepdad calls me up. Everything was good with her health-wise, but she ended up passing away right then and there, like that morning. And so I was just really in shock. And I get to my first serve, and I try to compose myself and really didn't get emotional. I was still kind of in shock. And then I get to the door, and this older lady who kind of reminded me of my grandmother answered the door, and I just bawled right when she came to the porch and the steps. Oh, wow. She had no idea why I was there, and I just bawled for about 5-10 minutes, and she just hugged me and held me and told her that I served her. Finally, it took me about 10-15 minutes to tell her who I am, why I'm there, and why I'm bawling like a baby. And I served the papers. She was super nice, super friendly, one of the nicest people that I ever served. And to show that kind of compassion, being served papers from one human being to another, she just knew that I needed a hug, and a shoulder cry on, And I tell people about her all the time. Well, I just went and served her again a few weeks ago. And I pull up, and as soon as I get out of my car and turn around to face her house, she's already outside with her arms wide open to give me a hug. and of course I was, more composed this time. And I just told her, I tell people about you all the time. This lady who I served, who was there for me when I needed somebody, just a human interaction, So that's definitely one of my best serves that I can ever think. Because and then after I served her and composed myself, I had one of the best serving days ever. It's almost like my grandma was like, you know what? It's okay, Chris. I'm gone, but I'm going to make sure everybody's home today. And I knocked out over 35 jobs that day. Oh, wow. So it's just like she was with me, Like I could have went home and just, took the day off. I said, no, this jobs need to get done. Clients need, attempts and statuses and everything. So I'm going for it. It was like one of the best serving days I've ever had. So
that's the part of this job that we don't talk about a whole lot. That and I think in both of your experiences that you've shared today, what I've taken from it is that we're people too. And the people we're serving are people, like the guys that pulled up in the car. Imagine if they were what everybody else portrays people that we're serving to be. They pull up in the car like, "What the hell are you doing on my property?"
Absolutely.
I'm injured. I don't care. Get off my property.
Exactly. Yep.
So that's cool.
Get injured somewhere else.
Yeah, not on my property. Are you so and so? No, and you're like having to deal with all that. I think you were fortunate, blessed, lucky, whatever you want to call it. I call it blessed, but the elderly lady, I have a lot of respect for elderly people and the wisdom that they can share with us.
Absolutely.
So that's good. What do you want Server Nation to take from your story?
So getting back to the beginning of that story, I just try and I serve everybody with respect. A lot of times when I serve people that have gotten served in the past by other servers, and I'm not trying to put down other process server companies and other independent contractor servers, but a lot of them telling me that a lot of people just get the paper served and the server's super rude, sometimes nasty, and throws the papers in their face and this and that. I never do that. I'm very professional with every serve, and I take it, and I don't know where everybody else serves if there's like no cell service or connection, but when I'm serving people up in the mountains and I'm super nice to them, like I am with everybody, if your car breaks down and you were nice to that person, you can go back to that house and say, hey, it's happened to me before. They gave me shelter. They gave me a phone. They gave me water. They let me use their restroom, They remembered me serving them as a professional. And it goes a long way by treating people with respect, treating people you're serving, no matter what the paperwork is, with the utmost respect that you want to be treated with. So
that's awesome. I love that story, and I love that perspective. I like to say, treat others the way that you want to be treated. They're a human. When you're out there serving papers, of course, be prepared, be respectful. Number one things. Chris, what are you working on right now that has you most fired up?
Getting to jobs that are way up in the mountains that there's just no way of getting to the jobs, and keeping the clients happy, keeping the clients as customers, and trying my hardest to get to properties that I can get to with all the snow up here in the Pacific Northwest and the terrain of the mountains the way they are. Every winter, I look forward to this. It's really tough to try and get to these. I've had jobs, I'm not going to lie, that I've had since middle of November. And, beginning of December, that I just cannot get to, with the 3-4 feet of snow. I don't own a snowmobile, so I can't, park up, get a truck and get up there and get my snowmobile onto the, terrain and get up there. But now with the snow melt, spring's right around the corner, everything's melting. So now clients are getting happy where I can, finally get to these jobs that I haven't been able to get to just because of the terrain, that we have jobs for. So
right. Well, that's awesome. I got to tell you, there's a guy up in Alaska who, on most of his jobs, he was telling me that he goes up to the mountains on snowmobile.
Helicopter? Oh,
snowmobile. Helicopter. Yeah. No, he did say that. He said that on some of them, he does have to go wait till the ice is actually frozen so that he could go on a snowmobile over the ice.
Wow.
Yeah. And then also he'll ride quads and things like that. Most of the serves that he does is on quad or snowmobile. I'm just like, wow. So what I wanted to ask you is, how bad do these clients want these people served? Because one time I had a situation where I had to serve a pot grower and they wanted me to get pictures. And I said, well, there's gates and I might be able to serve them. But as far as the pictures go, you're probably not going to get very good pictures because they have these big old fences with tarps up and stuff, and they wanted to get pictures of the pot. And so I was like, well, I could get a drone and fly it over and take pictures. And they said, okay, go, yeah, do that. And I said, well, if, I'm going to have to charge the expense for the drone to you. And, and so I was able to do that, $750 drone.
Wow, I'm actually really impressed.
Yeah. So maybe you want to call your client and go, look, between you and this guy, we can get ourselves a snowmobile up here and then we'll be in operation. Hey.
No, that's correct. For the most part, all clients, and we've had the same clients for years and years and years. They know us, they trust us, and as long as they know that I am trying, at least every few days or once a week, to go to these impossible areas. Every time I get a little bit closer, I'll take a picture of the road, the street sign. Okay, I'm getting this, this closer. So they see that we're working, and they're really good with that. Clients are really relaxed with that, and they're like, okay, this company, they're trying, Chris is trying, so they just sit on the paperwork and know that I'll get it done when I can get up there.
Server Nation, Chris has been dropping some major value bombs on us today, but prepare yourself because we're headed into the rapid fire round right after a word from our sponsors. Server Nation, imagine what you could do with another 25 minutes per job. This is how much time process servers who use ServeManager are saving. At just 100 jobs per month, that's over 40 hours that can be spent growing your business or doing more important things like spending time with your family. From job creation to affidavit generation, ServeManager is full-featured and hands down the most intuitive process serving software on the market. I use it for my business. I think you should use it too. In my firm, it's important for me to be able to automate the systems that get things done. ServeManager has done just that with their API integration, where you can set up literally any app that integrates with Zapier will integrate with ServeManager. I love it. I've set my whole firm up. Go to processserverdaily.com/ServeManager to get your free trial. If you like it after the 14-day free trial, they've offered to give you another 60 days for free as a thank you for being a Process Server Daily listener. That's processserverdaily.com/ServeManager. Welcome back to the show. Chris, are you ready for the rapid fire round?
I'm ready, man. Sasquatch of the Northwest is ready.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Well, that's awesome. What is your favorite tool for defense?
My mind and my mouth. I've gone into many altercations that could have ended up being physical, and I've always talked my way out of them because a couple things of advice I was always taught by the veteran server who trained me for that one day was that, one, no paper is worth getting punched, stabbed, shot, or killed over, and no paper is worth spending a night in jail with Bubba. So, and that's for you and for the person you're serving. That's the advice to them. If they start to get angry, say, hey, you know what? I'm a legal courier. I'm just trying to do my job. And when I worked for the old owner, for the 8 years right there, we weren't even allowed to have a weapon on us. We weren't even allowed to have bug spray. We weren't allowed to have any weapons. So now that I'm an IC, I've always had my concealed weapons permit, but I never really bring it with me because I've learned to not have to use weapons. So I just use my mind and my quick talking and talk my way out of every possible physical confrontation. I've never been swung at. I've been, of course, yelled at and, pretty close to being spit at and, people in my face to get me off the property. And I just put my hands up and say, okay, sorry to bother you. Just trying to do my job.
Yeah, I got to tell you, situational awareness and being able to look at a situation and come at it from a perspective of I'm just trying to do a job. Just yesterday, I was down in Yuba City and I had a situation where I pulled up to a property and everyone's outside. Everyone and their mother's outside. I think they're even cooking on an actual stove in the front yard. And
wow.
There's a car parked sideways and another one, a car parked out of the window. I mean, it's just insane. It was insane. Like you're walking up there thinking I shouldn't be walking up here. And because I'm a little bit stubborn and I have like 40 serves to do, I don't want to come back. So I'm
right.
In this situation, yeah. I just walk up. Before I could even get out of my car, though, one guy's like peeking over my shoulder in the car to see what I'm doing. Am I getting out? Do I, am I an officer? Do I have, and I don't do anything to make people think that I'm a cop, for multiple reasons. But this situation, I got out and, I just said, hey guys, how's it going, guys? And you just be like that nice guy that's like, hey, what's going on? Do you know the people who live in that house? But this guy was yesterday was like, no, nobody by that name lives in there. Some lady named Tina lives in there. And I said, oh, okay. And what's your name? And he just walked away. But and then he walks inside the house. That I was talking about. But then there's this young kid, like 18, 16, 17, somewhere on there. He's like, no, that girl moved out. She's my age. She moved out a long time ago. And he seemed a little bit more, It's crazy. Situational awareness, being able to see a situation where there's like 5 guys all, you see they're carrying guns. Don't stop. Just keep going. Like you said, it's not worth It's not worth your life. Chris, what is the greatest advice you've ever received?
The top of no paper's worth getting killed over or spending the night in jail with over. But greatest advice, I talked about it before, is to treat people the way you want to be treated. And it goes so far with everything, not just this job, but in your life and period in general. But that is definitely, you want to definitely just be sociable, be friendly, be professional, and that'll just go a long way.
This next question, it trips up a lot of people when they come on here. They're not sure how to go about it, but I know that with your awesome skills, the man, the myth, the legend, the Sasquatch of the North.
That's right.
What would you do if you woke up today, had all the same skills and knowledge, had no clients, a smartphone, a car, and only $100, what would you do in the next week?
In the next week, with just that, I would immediately start making friends with all the local attorney offices, all the local courthouses. The clerks are your best friends at all the courts, the district court, superior court clerks' offices. I can't tell you how much I love all of them over here in the 6 counties that I cover. They are a huge resource for you. So definitely befriend them. Most of them are good people. A lot of them, can kind of get a little frustrated, with the people they deal with and even servers they deal with. But definitely, with they can revenue generate a lot of business for you. They turn a lot of people your way because they get a bunch of walk-ins every day, all different counties, different, either it's a district or superior court. So that'd be like your first step is just to befriend the clerk's offices, and then make your way to the attorney's offices and just be very professional, very sociable, and have just a good persona of what you're doing and what you plan to do with your business, and you'll see it grow just exponentially.
That's awesome, Chris. That's great advice. I have a question. So when you talk about going to clerks and things like that, what is the best way? Because in many counties, they don't allow you to, they're not allowed to promote any individual independent contractors or any companies. They usually just send people to the sheriff. Do you find it's different in your county, or is there something you're doing that I'm not doing?
Some of the courts, they actually have business card slots there.
Oh,
you can put your business cards next to the window of the clerk's office windows. Generally, their rules is they can't give any legal advice to people that are, that's their biggest rule. But as far as referring to people to process servers, I haven't had a problem in any of the counties here in Washington State, where they say, hey, check out the servers here. There's a list of, business cards here. And if you develop more of a better relationship with them, a more personal relationship with them, by seeing them every week, day in, day out, they kind of know you personally, and they'll say, hey, this guy, he's a good guy, good server, go send the business that way, So
yeah, and I've said this 1,000 times, I'll say it again. The court clerks have all the power.
They do.
If you go there, if you make an enemy out of a court clerk.
Oh yeah. No, we've had our run-ins with some of the clerk's offices, and even our favorite clerk's offices, there might be one or two that are they're having a bad day, and you step on the wrong toe, and man, it's no help at all.
Yeah, you'll show up to their window and they'll take a lunch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And most of them do here, like from 12 to 1, you can't get no. But even if I'm running a little bit late, I can just call a direct number here and there and talk to my favorite person, and they'll wait for me and file my paperwork before they go to lunch. So
that
helps if you're just really friendly with the clerk's offices. So.
That's a really good tip. So what I take most from your story is, we talked about before, treat others the way you want to be treated. Get out there and make friends with people. You just find situations to be able to grow your network. They say your network is your net worth. If you don't know anybody, nobody knows you, you're probably working a minimum wage job. That's just usually how it works.
Yep.
So that's what I get most from your story. Chris, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. What is your parting piece of advice for Server Nation?
Is just to network, treat people with respect, treat your affiliates with respect, your neighboring partners in businesses. We do so much work for neighboring county affiliates of ours, and they really, without them, we wouldn't see quite a bit of the business that we do see. And I'm so grateful to just have that kind of connection and networking capabilities with the neighboring affiliates and other serving companies in this state and surrounding counties. And just to go out there every day, and then, there's no sick days in this job. So
isn't that the truth?
You're in your car for most of the day, so it's fine. And just go out there and be safe. And just every day is a new day. Every paper is a new paper. Every person is a new person. And that's one of the reasons why I love this job, is because you meet all different kinds of characters, mostly good, some bad, some interesting. But enjoy what you do.
What is the best way that we can connect with you? And then we'll say goodbye.
Best way to connect with me is my email, which is Chris, CHRIS Svelnys, SV as in Victor, EL, N as in Nancy, YS, @gmail.com. And my phone number is 509-770-3336. And you can call me day or night. Always be around. If anybody has any questions or needs advice, I'm here. And I'm located here in Moses Lake, Washington. And another email would be the letter A, the number 2, the letter Z, and then legalcouriers@gmail.com.
That's awesome. And is that your web domain as well, Legal Couriers?
Yeah, A to Z Legal Couriers. Yeah, and that's who I'm contracted for. So,
Chris, I want to personally thank you for coming on the show. I've been so impressed with your story, and I'm excited to share it with the world.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Until next time, Server Nation, you've been served up some awesomeness by the man, the myth, the legend, the Sasquatch of the Northwest, and Mighty Mike, the podcast server. Server Nation, I want to personally thank you for listening to that episode, and I want to invite you to visit the website, processserverdaily.com/podcast. Check out the episodes. You can even ask a question. I will air your voice clip on my podcast so that my guest can answer your question directly. processserverdaily.com/podcast.